everyone, welcome to another Book Review Wednesday, and today for this particular installment I'm going to be addressing The Illustrated Man by Ray Bradbury, which is a compilation of various science fiction short stories that encompass a variety of different scenarios. These include from robots to space travel to apocalypse oriented stories. So it really provides you a full array of different plots with all of these different short stories, and they obviously all have various different titles and characters and whatnot. But in doing so, the way in which Bradbury writes them is something that I think is definitely what makes it stand out, considering the fact that the way in which he writes them is so well addressed, and I think comes off effectively. Now, for the most part, as far as a theme is concerned when it comes to these particular stories, it's largely trying to address the sort of mechanical nature of technology and how that sort of conflicts with, in particular, human psychology. So the author, Ray Bradbury, is really playing around with a variety of different concepts, and in doing so, I think he creates something that's, I think, fairly insightful and engaging for the reader. And overall, there's a total of 18 short stories, one of them being related sort of to the Illustrated Man, but you can sort of see that the short stories are sort of accompanied within the design here. That's part of the cover of the, at least of this version of the book. But despite the pattern as far as theme is concerned, it largely offers something unique throughout each story, so you don't feel like it's trying to be redundant. And I think that although some of these stories are a little bit too bizarre for my taste, and again, I really do admire science fiction, but sometimes it can be a little bit maybe too hokey, at least from my perspective. There are, at least from my point of view, some short stories that really did resonate with me, at least I think more so than others. And I think that that comes through when a lot of people read these kinds of books that really focus on showcasing various short stories as opposed to one big story. So I think that's just also something that's really important to note when really kind of understanding this kind of writing. It's not really designed to be too in-depth, but at the same time give you sort of a portal as far as perspective is concerned, in particular when it comes to the various characters that are within these short stories, and also sort of the general messages that are sort of being presented. And although there is, maybe I would say, more so stories that reflect onto space travel out of the different types of short stories that are within this particular book. Again, it's all fairly unique and interesting, and oftentimes Ray Bradbury will present these really out of kind of whack futuristic places and sort of settings that again, I think can be rather out there and a little hokey, but it is still interesting to see this kind of genre being executed, and in such a way that is focused in more on creating short stories rather than necessarily focusing on one bigger, more elaborate story. And I think there have been some adaptations of the particular short stories that are within this particular book. Um, and those are probably also worth exploring as well. But uh, for example, if you're into kind of the Twilight Zone or things that often are supposed to be on the more unexplained, sometimes even side. This is also, I think, something that will definitely engage you at times, because it really does try to play around with all these different concepts, and in doing so create something that's rather interesting and maybe doesn't necessarily reflect onto exactly what uh, reality is, but presents maybe possibilities that could exist within the future, or um, could possibly become part of reality. So it's really fascinating in that sense, and I think in particular science fiction is one that I think isn't as utilized within a literature as much as some other genres are, especially again told within this kind of a format. But I think that's really ultimately all I can say about this particular book, or technically collection of short stories. But I hope that you enjoyed this video. If there are any questions, comments, concerns, I'd be more than happy to answer them. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you all have a pleasant day, week, month, and year, and I hope to see you in the next video. Take care.